Good afternoon. Hello, thank you. We are awake. Excellent. Excellent. I hope you're enjoying the exhibition. If you haven't found what you're looking for, I trust you will now, because what we're going to do is take you through the 6 steps to writing effective learning content. My name's Tim Marshall. I am a learning consultant with SkillSet. We have a stand over there. And effectively, as a company, we are a training services provider and also the UK provider for information mapping. I'm delighted to introduce Tom van der Vennet. Tom is the Director of Corporate Marketing with Information Mapping. And Tom's going to take us through the various steps and information that will help you to improve your training content, your information, and your documentation, and make it more effective for your learners. Okay?
Thank you, Tim. Good afternoon. Thank you for attending this session. I hope you can hear me and understand me. All right, great. Because from here, you cannot understand. I cannot understand myself. I might have a strange accent. That's only because I'm from Belgium, not because I'm trying to make a hard afternoon for you. But I'm really excited to be with you because we want to talk about something that we as communication professionals are talking about all the time. Finding the best ways to make our learning content much more readable, usable, and accessible, and of course, concise. In this presentation, I will share with you 6 steps for writing better learning content, user-focused and primed for reuse. And here is what we are going to do for today. First, I will make a case for the benefits of adopting a content standard. That's maybe a new topic to introduce today. And next, I will give you a brief introduction to information mapping. Since the 6 steps we will be introducing later, they are actually the fundamentals of the information mapping methods. We will talk about that later. Then we will examine those 6 steps. We'll look at each of them in detail so that you can see how you can apply them. We'll look at an example of training material, a before and after application. And finally, we will review a checklist that you can use to ensure the quality of your learning content. Today, we all take it for granted that we have a lot of technology standards. We all know technology standards, such as document management, for instance. Everybody knows document management, and document management handles, for instance, with Word, with PDF. Are those standards? I don't know, but I can only say that 95% of the people who are attending my session are using Word and PDF files. So we could say this is a kind of a standard. Of course, you also have these standards in content management systems. In content management, we have HTML, you have XML, DTDs, etc., a lot of different terms. And much more familiar for you will be the learning management systems. And learning management is handling with SCORM, for instance, is handling with AICC. So we already know a lot of technology standards. But we often forget about setting a content standard, about the question, what do we want to look our documentation like? How can we make our documentation look consistent, easier to use, clearer to understand? Has anybody of you a content standard within the company? Ready? More or less, maybe yes, maybe no. But a content standard is not as logical as a technology standard. Well, the 6-step approach that we would like to introduce to you today incorporates the fundamentals of the information mapping method, which is an internationally recognized and research-based content standard. And it makes information easier to write, easier to read, and much more accurate and reusable. So actually, readers will much more understand what they are reading and what they are looking at. So let's have a look at those 6 steps. One of the most common mistakes we make as writers is to create documents from a one-size-fits-all point of view. When it comes to documentation, and especially learning content, one size doesn't fit all. If your documents are different to read, are targeted to different audiences, how will they find what they are looking for without becoming confused? A key strategy here is organizing the information so that each audience can find the information where he or she is looking for. So this is the first step, actually. Understand your audience. When we look at today's changing workforce, we see that there are a lot of different things with the baby boomers that the younger generations are replacing. For instance, they are less experienced and they often have fewer skills than the workers who are leaving today. Another thing is with the current workforce is that they are more likely to move to another job much more faster. So we want to design training materials that gets them up to speed as quick as possible. So the training materials you give them must be very clear and easy for them to understand. And you will need to provide more support information than ever before. Your challenge is to make it as easy as possible for readers to find exactly what they need and where they need it. So to do this, you need to make sure that that you understand your audience. And how you can check this? Well, you can ask following questions to assist you in writing learning content. First of all, the question is, who are my audiences? In other words, how many different groups will be using your documents? And then the second question, what does each group needs to do? And coupled with that, what do they need to know in order to do that? And as you revise existing documents, you will have to ask yourself, is the right level of detail being provided for each audience? Can each audience quickly and easily find the information he or she is looking for? Is the documentation easy to find and understand? And the best way to research that is to observe user and to ask them questions. The next step is to move into categorizing information. That might be new, categorizing information, because creating effective training materials, that means making information easy for your readers to find and understand. And this categorize by information types and by purpose for the audience. Categorizing is a powerful concept which is at the heart of the information mapping method. The idea of creating modules of information and classifying them according to information types. The information mapping method actually categorizes information in 6 different information types, which is about 90% of the content that we have. So let's have a look at those 6 different information types using this car as an example. First of all, I have a question on how do I change a tire? Does anybody has a suggestion on what kind of information type that could be? How to change a tire? A process? That's a good start, but it's not correct. And I will tell you why in 20 seconds. Other suggestion? Other ideas? It's not a process, it's a procedure. It's a procedure. Because a procedure is a set of steps that the person performs to accomplish a task. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. That's a procedure. Okay? We're going to the next question about this car. Next question is, oh, that looks strange. That wasn't at my original site. The next question is, how does the engine work? And now you can come up with a process, because a process is a series of events or stages that has a specific result. How does an engine work? This is right? This is a process. A third question, very important to me when I come from Belgium, should I drive on the left or on the right in the UK? What kind of information type? Any ideas? A strategy? Instruction. Yeah, not too bad, instruction. We call this a principle, something you should do or you shouldn't do, all right? It's a rule, it's a policy, it's a guideline. Next question, what is an airbag? That's a very easy one. What is an airbag? A fact, great. You know the method? A fact or a concept. The next, what are the parts of my dashboard? Maybe that's a difficult one. What are the parts of my dashboard? Mostly we represent this by means of a chart, of a diagram, and we call this a structure. And then the last one, what is the maximum speed of this car? There is a statement that is assumed to be true, and now we have the facts. So those are the 6 information types: procedure, process, principle, concept, structure, and fact. So when you are creating training materials, you need to clearly identify those different information types so that readers will need to successfully perform on each of them. Okay, well, let's check if we have done our homework. Begin by creating a list of topics for your documents, taking into consideration what your audience need to know about each information type. Ask yourself these questions. Have you identified the procedures your readers need to perform? Have you seen what they need to know to perform that successfully? And the third question, have you separated the nice to know from the need to know information? And then if key points or important warnings are buried in all kinds of other information, you will frustrate readers because you may even jeopardize their safety. You have to organize your content from your reader's perspective. And you need to anticipate the question readers will ask and provide the answer they will need. So you have to organize the information, because we often see that training materials that don't address novices' questions or bury important details that a new employee might need in dense text, that makes it very difficult for novice readers. So we always put yourself in the reader's shoes. So as you create training materials, make sure you present the information in the order in which readers need to use and access it. You explain new concepts for novices, which makes it easy for them to find it, but also for experts to skip on them. And the third step, oh, no third step, I'm sorry. Oh, there is, yes. Have you placed cautions and warnings on top of your instruction? This is important. Before you start with an instruction, put your cautions and your warning at the top of your block. The next step, consistency is critical. Sometimes it may be tempting, but I would suggest don't use your documentation as a place to expound on some theory of the universe. No, don't confuse your readers with acronyms that they may not know, or to use other technology they are not terminology they are not familiar with. Remember, you have to offer them a helping hand. So check for consistency, because it's hard to think of a type of documentation where consistency is more important than in training documentation. For a trainee, existing inconsistent documentation can be literally a showstopper. While an experienced worker may understand that the handle and the pedal and the lever and the joystick are always meaning the same thing, for a novice, it's difficult to figure out that this is the same object. So you need to make sure that you are consistent with the words you are using. So you don't confuse and you do not frustrate your readers. So always be consistent in terminology, and also keep in mind that terminology is not the only cause of consistency problems. Also, formatting and inconsistent writing styles decrease the performance and slow down the learning curve. So let's check. As a developer, you need to make sure that you use the right abbreviations and use them consistently. You have presented the different information types in consistent formats. And of course, using the same presentation of those information types. The fifth step is helping your readers find what they need. Ask your employees where to go find information, and observe them how long it takes to get answers to your questions. Do you see an extensive use of bookmarks? Do you see a lot of sticky notes on their desk? Do you see your help desk flooded with a lot of different questions? If readers cannot find the information that they need, they often seek it elsewhere, with colleagues, on the internet, on Google. And sometimes that might be causing a lot of risk that has serious consequences. So help your readers find what they need. One of the best ways to ensure the effectiveness of training is by making your documents easy to read, easy to navigate for your trainers. So a part of your task as a trainer is to train your readers and to depend on documentation. So the question is, when you finish your document, did you include access aids? What is an access aid? That can be a table of constants, for instance. That can be an index, that can be a hyperlink. The titles and the labels that we are using, are they descriptive? And the charts, tables, and graphics, and also bulleted lists, are they used to help highlight and clarify the information? And of course, is information stored in a way that it makes available where and when it is needed? And this is the last part. It pays for you to think of content you create as building blocks. Building blocks will allow you to easily reuse the content for multiple purposes without compromising the integrity of the information. So we look at reusable information. This is important for trainers because using small modular units of content is not only good for learning. People learn more effectively when you deliver the information in small, easy digestible parts. And it also makes it easier for updating later. You can repurpose your documentation, for instance, later in job aids, in procedure and user guidelines. So to create building blocks within your procedure, ask yourself following questions. Have you created small, well-defined units of information? Have you grouped information into meaningful, relevant topics? And can your units of information easily be reused for multiple purposes? The 6 steps I've shared with you could not only be applied to training documents, but to a lot of other documentation. But I would like to show you a before and after example. It's a very small piece of learning content from a restaurant chain. And this is from a manual of a restaurant chain. And this is what I found. This is a before. And this is what we call a classic wall of words. We see documents like this all the time, and we know that they are not effective. They contribute to longer training cycles and poor performance on the job. And what are the problems with these documents? Well, actually, all the information that you need is in here, but it's presented in hard-to-follow and dense text. The important points in my text, they doesn't stand out. And it's also difficult for a trainee to stay oriented if they are trying to work from this document. And this is only a very small extract, of course, from my manual. So what do we do with this document? This is the same document, or rather, the very same information, but rewritten using the 6 steps that I just discussed with you. First of all, we've carefully considered our target audience. We've categorized the information according to its type. It's written, structured, and clear from a reader's point of view. And we made sure that terminology, structure, and formatting are consistent, as well as the rest of the content of the document. The information is presented as really accessible, so that you can really see the task of performing thawing bagels. So this brings me to the final checklist of better learning content, because when you improve the quality of your learning content, you can help improve your quality and reduce your corporate risk. So ask these questions. Have you assessed your audience needs? Have you categorized by type and purpose? Is it organized from the reader perspective? Are the language and the formatting consistent? And have you made the information accessible? And the last one that we just discovered is everything presented in small, easily reusable units? This was a very short introduction to six tips and tricks to improve your learning content. We have a nice white paper about that I'll be willing to share with you on our booth here with the people of SkillSet. Moreover, I would like to introduce our latest product to you, which is a video course on information mapping. This is really new because the video course will only be launched by tomorrow, and I have the honor of I can give you a preview, a free preview of one of the 15 modules. I can send it to you. If you hand over your business card in our booth, you will have the preview tomorrow at the launch of the product. So please, if you're interested, stop by at our booth and leave your business card so that you can have the free module. And also, you can have this presentation as a downloadable PDF. Thank you for your attention.
Excellent. And if you need any more information or you want to see a demonstration of how the structured information can really help your learners, then just pop over to stand 34. Thank you very much. I trust you found what you're looking for.